I'm Kalman Caraway and welcome to this video. This one will be basically a full reading of my coloring storybook, The Adventures of the Smallest Astronaut Book 1. I thought since we're nearing Christmas, it could be a sort of a fitting Christmas gift to give you a full reading. Kids can watch it, parents can get to know the book, and I hope you'll simply enjoy a bit of relaxing reading for fun. So, let's get into it. Adventures of the Smallest Astronaut, Book 1, The Pancake Planet and the One-Toothed King. It was a grand day for the space agency, as they could finally present their newest spaceship. All their engineers worked hard to make it the fastest ship ever, so everyone looked very excited. Apart from the 3 chosen astronauts who put on their most serious face for this historic occasion. The reservist smallest astronaut was simply happy to be on stage so he could wave to his parents who were watching the events from home. After the presentation, when the cameras were turned off, came another reveal. The ship was not far away and big, but close and small. Having spent most of the budget on the engine and the internal machinery, there was not much left for the rest of the ship. It might have been the fastest spacecraft ever, but it was also the tiniest. No matter how hard the astronauts tried, none of them could get into it, and they all just ended up in embarrassing positions. Except the smallest astronaut. He fit right in and even had a bit of legroom. Instead of sitting in a tiny cockpit, he felt like being in a huge bubble covered in machinery on all sides. There were devices for every function, detectors and displays beeping, flashing, pinging left and right. He was really glad he read all the manuals, otherwise he would have mistaken the life support for a vending machine and the launch controls for a toaster. As soon as he launched, all his studies paid off. Leaving the planet, he had to navigate around a few asteroids while being distracted by all the celestial objects he mostly just read about until this day. He saw planets with rings and double rings, galaxies which looked like flat disks and some like swirling milk, moons with more craters than he could count, while still getting used to the experimental ship's controls. It was time to test the famous engine of the ship. As soon as he switched to top speed, the stars stretched around him and the planets whizzed by like speeding pancakes. Strangely, although he was going with full speed, a curious comet seemed to catch up to him. Even stranger, the comet was changing course, getting closer and closer, until it got so close that it turned out to be not a comet, but an alien ship piloted by a friendly pilot. Giving the universal hand sign of appreciation of the smallest astronaut's flying skills, she tilted her ship to have a closer look at our hero. Surprisingly, her ship was much simpler on the inside. Not a lot of instruments, apart from a yoke for control. Obviously, her ship was either designed without extra pieces of equipment, or her huge helmet was housing them all. Being a bit surprised and quite preoccupied with friendly greetings in this first contact situation, the 2 travelers did not notice an actual Pancake Planet in their way. Seeing the crazy speed of the ships approaching, even the planet's surface formed a panicking face, while its blueberry moon tried to hide behind it. This lack of attention from the pilots could have ended in disaster if the planet was not made of pancake, sponge cake and various soft and sweet things. Bursting through a few layers of jello cubes and hitting the top of a vanilla-covered sponge cake mountain helped the 2 ships to just slide down on the mountainside into a pond of marshmallow. Crash avoided, but the hull of their ships got so hot during entry into the sweet-smelling atmosphere of the planet that the marshmallow pond melted away around them, making it impossible to get out of this sticky situation. Luckily, all of this was spotted by the Spotted Spotter, who was on the mountain top at the time, which was one of his favorite places to spot things from. As soon as his amazement subsided, he ran down the candy, chocolate and donut-covered slopes to warn a nearby group of woodland woolies who were gathering tasty cotton candy from some colorful treetops. The Spotted Spotter was always good at spotting trouble and helpful people alike. The woodland woolies, having fur made of cotton candy, let the wind puff it up and carry them over the marshmallow pond. In a matter of minutes, they freed the smallest astronaut and the pilot from their ships and flew with them in hand back to safety. While the astronaut enjoyed the ride wholeheartedly, the pilot was slightly embarrassed by being carried by her giant helmet. But help is help, even if it sometimes looks silly. Of course, our heroes were eager to continue their flight, but woodland woolies explained to them that after the melted marshmallow cools down, it becomes very hard and difficult to break off the ships. One of the woolies had the idea to use water to wash off the hardened marshmallow, but when the two pilots asked if they could give them some water, the woolies got quite distraught. They feared water as it would melt their cotton candy fur in seconds. After making sure the travelers were well fed, at least as much as you can get fed by cotton candy, they directed them to the city of the One-Tooth King. He might have another name, but One-Tooth King is how everyone knows him. According to the woolies, his kingdom has most of the water on the planet and all the things which have no taste. The city folk also seem to be sleepy all the time, so they should not expect much excitement from them upon their arrival. Entering the city, just as the woolies told them, they found a bunch of sleepy or sleeping people among half-finished buildings. Tools and resources were lying around as if everyone just stopped mid-work to have a nap or a bowl of the tasteless porridge left cold in a huge cauldron. Upon asking for the reason of their state, one of the villagers said that the One-Tooth King lets them eat only that porridge and they simply have no energy to finish any work properly. "Who dares to complain?" shouted the One-Tooth King, storming out of his castle. Startled, his own guards and the helpful villager could only stare in shock at the sight of the king. "Who are you two in the strange helmets, and how can I get rid of you?" asked the king. The astronaut and the pilot politely explained the situation of their ships, but they just could not drop the subject of the sleepy people and why they were only allowed to eat the tasteless porridge. Just to get rid of the visitors with annoying questions, the king told his story. How he was a dashing young fellow with a muscular, lean body and a mouth full of teeth, whiter than the finest whipped cream, but when he ate of the tasty things found all over the planet, he suddenly experienced stomachache, toothache, loss of strength, and gain of a belly. To spare his people from all such suffering, he banned all the sweet, tasty, and delicious things from his kingdom. It all sounded a bit too simple, so the two travelers asked for details about what exactly the king had eaten before his problems began. The list was quite extensive and varied. At the chocolate cream-covered waffles, the pilot just nodded. At the 12 donuts, the astronaut raised his eyebrow. 10 minutes later, reaching the part about a dozen candy canes, 23 muffins, and 4 pies, both travelers begged the king to stop talking about food as they started to feel sick. After the smallest astronaut and the alien pilot gathered themselves, they lectured the king in length. He got sick and weak because he only ate sweets, not even a bit of meat or vegetables. They taught him sweets are fine as dessert, but not as every single meal of the day, and a bit of regular exercise would help him regain his old looks. Also, if he had cleaned his teeth, now he would still have actual teeth instead of a tooth. After the king lifted the ban on food and forwarded the teachings he received, the whole city got busy. People finished painting walls, fixing fences and roofs. Some even started gardening or jogging. With all the extra energy, it did not take long to wash off the burnt marshmallow and force the ships out of the pond's grip. After the final cleaning touches were all done, the smallest astronaut and the pilot were ready to leave this sweet place. Saying farewell to the helpful woodland woolies, the now invigorated villagers, and the king who, after going to the dentist, shall not be called One-Tooth ever again, our heroes took off in their squeaky clean ships. As they were speeding away, the spotted spotter followed them closely in his naturally spotted pod. He was always good at spotting people who would end up in exciting adventures, where spotting things could be helpful. And as a final page, thank you for taking part in this little adventure. If you have questions like where did the spotted spotter come from, what does the pilot look like without her giant helmet, or what new planets our heroes will discover, look for Book 2, The Tech Towel Tribe and the Snow Angles, in a few months or as soon as I can finish it. P.S. No, Angles is not a typo. So, I thank you all for your attention, and I hope you like this story. And if you would actually own a physical copy of it, it's available in all regions of Amazon currently. And I wish all of you a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Thank you for your time.